tatta dhim ta takita dhim ta dhim ta tam.
There is an intriguing energy of the mind, which is that of the hijacker. And the thing is to not take it personally. When I speak here of the mind, I'm speaking of the archetypal mind or the archetypal mental consciousness, which is something that is universal. It is not just about my mind or your mind, and therefore it is something of a failure in us if our mind plays tricks upon us or has this ability to hijack our attention, but it is just the way in which mental consciousness works. In an archetypal tradition, you have this interplay between the mental consciousness and the archetypal consciousness, which is, in essence, a body-led consciousness. So many of the archetypal traditions centralize embodied practices like dance, and that speaks to the body-led nature of this larger and more expansive consciousness. And these two dimensions, there is always a dance going on between them. The resistance of the mental consciousness is to be led by the more expansive body-led consciousness. There is a saying in Indian philosophy which I often quote, which is that 3/4 of word is hidden in the cave. So word, which is the language of the mental consciousness, 3/4 of that is hidden in the cave of the body. So when we are able to lead from the cave, it's a very different quality of mental consciousness. We never disregard the mind. It's not that the mind is not useful. It's just that it is useful, and more importantly, it is not destructive when it finds its rightful place in this balance, in this dance. The important thing is, even though the body is leading the mind, it is never a hierarchical proposition. We have to use these words because we are this language that I speak is also a language of the mind. So the hierarchy is inherent in the words. But I hope you can feel that when it is a body-led consciousness, it is not hierarchical. It is actually an interplay or a dance. What I have noticed in my programs and even in my own experience is that when we open ourselves up to this archetypal traditions, when we start exploring a more expansive or a body-led consciousness, there comes these moments when, like lightning, our attention is completely hijacked by the mind. Suddenly, things start to get busy. Suddenly, we have a lot of obligations happening at work, or suddenly there are things going on in the family, or suddenly the house needs renovation. These are very legitimate things that happen in the macrocosm around us. This is where I have learned to recognize that it is actually not something personal, but that it is something about the nature of this interplay, that there is an inevitable backlash from the mental consciousness, this archetypal mental consciousness, which hijacks our attention from focusing on this exploration towards what are very legitimate things. So we can't disregard them. The mind is very clever. It's not going to be proposing things that are patently not important or patently irrelevant. These are real things that will happen. People might fall sick. We ourselves might fall sick, although it may not be serious. It might be something annoying that means that we can't continue, or we feel we can't continue. It could be something that comes up at work which we feel we must attend to, and therefore we cannot provide any more time for the exploration. What I have suggested to people when this happens, and what I do when it happens to me as well, is to fall back into the embodied practices, even though that's the last thing that we might feel like doing. And not to think about it as I need now an hour to do this and I can't have that hour because I have to attend to other things, but take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because the mind might still resist that, but at least we can bring the mind along for 5 or 10 minutes rather than saying, I need 3 hours to do something, which becomes an impossible task. But just 5 minutes or 10 minutes of dropping back into a body-led practice, into an embodied practice, into grounding yourself, even a small walk in nature without any iPhones or without putting any earplugs on, but just being in nature for 10 minutes, taking 20 minutes to go and watch a sunset, free of everything. Don't make it a task, and don't make it something that is going to bring you some benefit, or does it tick the box of, you've done something productive and useful. Just think about it as something of pleasure, just taking a rest from productivity. So any small thing, reading a poem, listening to a beautiful song, but just attending fully, putting your feet on the ground even if you're listening to the song, just reconnecting with the earth, removing your shoes if it's safe and just feeling the grass or the soil under your feet. Anything you can do to come back into the body, even if that's for 5 or 10 minutes, you'll find that it really helps you shift this feeling of being hijacked by the mind. And it's not that you won't go back and do those things, but I have seen that it brings a certain balance, that you will see that you didn't need to just give up whatever it is you were going to do and what was going to bring you pleasure, but you could accommodate it. It wasn't so all or nothing as it seemed, that it could be possible to actually do what you need to do, but also make some time to do this body-led invocation or practice or whatever it is that grounds you. So in short, if your mind is hijacking you, go to the dance to rebalance.